Surface Season 2, Episode 6, begins with Sophie Ellis still reeling from the impact of learning that she had been given a false identity by the Huntleys, as revealed to her by investigative journalist Callum Walsh at the end of Episode 5. While she was always aware that her mother, Emma Antoine Day, had a relationship with Henry Huntley, and that she was the aristocrat's illegitimate daughter, the documents Callum had given her stunned her. Sophie had clearly been given the fictitious identity of Tess Caldwell to conceal her true origins and ensure that she never discovered her ties to the Huntley family, even as she got older. She was taken in by the local church and given the identity of Tess Caldwell, a young girl who had died, while a death certificate was created in Sophie Huntley's name. Sophie now delivers her phony death certificate to Hyde Park, where she sees James again, still ignorant that he pretended to be close to her to learn the code to her Bitcoin USB drive. She doesn't want to discuss who Callum is or how she's been working with the journalist, most likely because she knows James will be envious of her spending time with another man. But the extreme shock of these disclosures compels her to discuss them with her husband, especially after she incorrectly believed he had opened up to her about all of his issues. Sophie was given the surname Huntley after her birth, which seemed weird at first because the aristocratic family did not want to be associated with Emma and the infant and wanted to remove themselves from the family. However, as previously stated, Henry had expressed a strong desire to marry Emma and bring her into the family, but his father, William, had refused. As a result, Henry must have consented to let his daughter use the family name, but when things spiraled out of control and his father forced him to leave, he devised a scheme to change Sophie's entire identity. Sophie is currently telling James about her earliest recollection of the Huntley estate, which came back to her when she last went with Eliza a few episodes ago. In this memory, she was standing by the fireplace as a priest, Father Martin, spoke to her about the new life she was going to receive. She believes that this is when the switch occurred, and she was declared dead solely to protect the Huntleys' reputation. Sophie becomes even more determined to find out what happened to her mother, and she wonders if Emma is still alive. Emma, like Sophie, may have been falsely reported dead while still living under a different identity, and Sophie intends to examine this. However, it is unclear how Sophie discovered her true identity 10 years ago, following which she began working as the estate's stable hand. Who abducts James in the end? In Surface Season 2, Episode 6, James Ellis continues to be a terrible guy, plotting behind his wife's back while claiming to aid her. Sophie understands at the end of the episode that James took advantage of the fact that she had let him back into her apartment to steal everything she owned. Most crucially, James appears to have smashed open the safe in her flat and removed the cryptocurrency thumb drive before turning off the power and departing. However, it should be noted that the loss of electricity means that the security camera footage cannot be watched, which may indicate that someone else has broken into the flat. After all, James was observed wandering around the streets that night when he was abducted by a group of men in a vehicle, and it is unknown who ordered the crime. It's possible that James told the truth about owing money to a dangerous criminal group, and they're returning to collect. This scenario would imply that James has not yet utilized Sophie's USB drive despite having stolen it, because he would have paid all outstanding bills by now. It's also possible that James was picked up by goons hired by Quinn, given the Huntley guy appeared to be aware of James's beautiful night with his fiancée, Grace. Quinn was spotted asking his men to find out if James had left the country yet, and he may have finally decided to punish him. Finally, James may have been abducted by men hired by Henry Huntley, who mistook him for someone Sophie loves about, and Sophie may have to come to James's rescue in the end. Thank you for watching.